Welcome to The Explainer. On the surface, an electric car seems pretty simple, right? Just a battery and a motor. But, well, that simplicity? It's hiding a really sophisticated system. So today, we're going to deconstruct the EV powertrain, the intelligent heart that's powering every EV on the road. All right, so to really get this, we've got to start with the massive leap from gas to electric. And it's not just about swapping out the fuel source. It is a total reimagining of how a car actually moves. Okay, look at this. The real magic here is just how much simpler it is. A gas engine is this mechanical beast with hundreds of moving parts. An EV powertrain, it's so streamlined. And that's not just a design choice, right? This radical simplicity is the secret sauce behind an EV's instant torque, its crazy high efficiency, and much, much lower maintenance.
Okay, so let's dive into the heart of the EV. And I mean that literally. It's the single heaviest, most expensive, and absolutely the most critical component, the battery pack. We're going to peel back its layers to see exactly how it works. The best way to think about an EV battery is like one of those Russian nesting dolls. It all starts with thousands of tiny individual cells. Then, those cells get bundled together into these protected modules. And finally, all those modules are assembled into the complete pack. That whole nested structure is how engineers can safely wrangle a massive amount of energy and turn it into a stable, manageable unit.
But here's the thing. Not all cells are made the same. You've got your cylindrical cells. Tesla made these famous. They're super durable, but they do waste some space. Then there are prismatic cells, which are kind of like bricks, perfect for stacking efficiently. And finally, pouch cells. They're lightweight, they're flexible, but they're also a bit more fragile. So for engineers, every single choice here is a battle between durability, how much energy you can pack in, and, of course, cost.
And this right here shows the relentless push for more efficiency. Early EVs, they used these modules, but all that extra packaging was just dead weight. So, engineers came up with cell-to-pack, basically just getting rid of the modules altogether. But the latest leap is cell-to-body. Here, the battery pack literally becomes the floor of the car. It's brilliant. It saves weight, it makes the car handle better, and it even makes it safer.
Okay, now we get to the great chemistry debate. For years, NMC batteries totally dominated. They gave you longer range, but they came at a higher cost and with more risk. But now, LFP batteries are really on the rise. They're cheaper, way safer, and they last longer. So what's the catch? Well, the trade-off is lower energy density, which means a little less range for the same amount of weight. And this one choice really defines what a car is for. Is it a long-range, high-performance machine, or is it an affordable, super durable workhorse?
So you have this incredibly powerful battery, but it's useless all by itself. It needs a whole support system to manage, convert, and actually use its energy. So let's meet the rest of the orchestra, all the components that conduct the flow of power.
First up is the Battery Management System, or BMS. And this thing is the true unsung hero of the whole powertrain. Think of it as the electronic brain. It is constantly monitoring the health of every single cell, protecting the pack from anything that could cause damage. Seriously, without a good BMS, a battery worth thousands and thousands of dollars could be toast in just minutes. And one of the most important jobs for the BMS is balancing all those cells. Now, passive balancing is the simple way to do it. It just drains the strongest cells to match the weakest one, but it wastes energy as heat. Active balancing, on the other hand, is much smarter. It basically acts like Robin Hood, taking energy from the rich cells and giving it to the poor ones. This is how you maximize the battery's total usable range. All right, next up is the brawn of the operation, the electric motor itself. Permanent magnet motors, they're the most efficient and power-dense, which is why you see them in high-performance EVs, like in the back of a Tesla Model 3. But then you have induction motors, like in the front of that same Model 3, which are more cost-effective and really robust. And then there are these emerging magnet-free motors, like switched reluctance. They promise even lower costs, but they need some seriously clever software to keep them quiet and smooth.
And this is where you really see the power of synergy. A component like the inverter doesn't just exist in a vacuum. If you make it more efficient, it generates less waste heat. That means you can have a smaller cooling system, which saves weight and energy. It's this amazing positive feedback loop where one tiny improvement makes the entire vehicle better.
Okay, so we've geeked out on all the tech.
But how does this actually affect you, the owner? Let's get into the real-world dilemma: charging speed versus the long-term health of your battery.
Yeah, the charging reality is pretty stark. If you plug into a standard wall outlet, you could be waiting for days to get a full charge. A level 2 home charger, that makes it an easy overnight job. But for road trips, DC fast charging is the absolute game changer, getting you up to 80% in under an hour?
But all that speed comes at a price. These three things you see here are the primary enemies of battery longevity. First, high C rates. That's just a fancy term for fast charging, and it puts a ton of stress on the battery's chemistry. Second, deep depth of discharge, which basically means running it down to 0% all the time. That also causes strain. And finally, extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, speed up the chemical reactions that make the battery degrade over time.
So, this brings us to the core dilemma for pretty much everyone. We all want the convenience of gas station speed. But how do you deliver that without absolutely killing the battery's lifespan and the car's long-term value? It is a very, very delicate balancing act.
Okay, when you have this much energy packed into a car, safety becomes absolutely non-negotiable. So let's pull back the curtain on the complex, multi-layered systems that are like an unseen guardian, protecting the vehicle and everyone inside it.
It really all starts with this one number, 50 volts. Anything above that is officially considered high voltage in an EV, and it's treated with extreme caution. That's exactly why you see all those high-voltage cables wrapped in that bright orange plastic. It's a universal warning sign that says, hey, you're dealing with a potentially dangerous circuit here.
The single biggest safety risk, the thing that keeps engineers up at night, is an event called thermal runaway. This is when a damaged cell kicks off a chain reaction, generating incredible heat that can spread to its neighbors and potentially cause a fire. Preventing this from ever starting, or containing it immediately if it does, is the #1 safety goal in all battery design. Period.
And the strategy to prevent this is incredibly deep. It starts at the material level with safer chemistries. It continues at the cell level, where that BMS we talked about is constantly watching for any sign of trouble. And finally, at the pack level, you've got physical barriers and advanced cooling systems, all ready to contain a failure. It really is a true defense-in-depth philosophy.
You know, one of the most brilliant safety systems is something called the High Voltage Interlock Loop, or HVIL. It's so clever. It's just a simple, low-voltage circuit that runs through every single high-voltage connector. So if a technician tries to unplug a live wire, this little interlock circuit breaks first, and that instantly kills all the power before a dangerous electric arc can even form. It's a simple but absolutely life-saving fail-safe.
All right. So, we've dissected the cells, we've looked at the motors, we've gone through all the safety systems. Now, let's zoom back out and put it all together, just to appreciate the powertrain for the integrated marvel that it really is.
If there's one thing you take away from all this, it's this. An EV powertrain is not just a collection of parts. It is one single, intelligent, and deeply interconnected system. The battery chemistry, the cooling system, the software, the motor, every single piece is designed and optimized to work in perfect harmony with everything else.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. You know, as we start to push the absolute limits of today's lithium-ion technology, where is the next big breakthrough going to come from? Is it from reinventing the battery pack itself with clever designs like cell-to-body? Or will it come from a completely new chemistry, something like sodium-ion? That, right there, is the race that's going to define the next generation of electric vehicles.